themselves? Please.
Hello friends, this is Kinnari, Flow Ahmedabad Chapter Events Head. A warm welcome everyone to an evening of assessing and finding inner clarity and strength with our spiritual leader, Nithya Shanti ji. We are happy to share a small video clip on great tips on Zoom etiquette and best practices to ensure an excellent attendee experience this evening for everyone. Thank you. IT team, can we have the Zoom etiquette video, please? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I, Ratna Jani, Secretary, Flow Ahmedabad, heartily extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guest speaker, Nithya Shanti ji, Chairperson Nandita Munsha, eminent past chairs, committee members, and our exuberant Flow family in Ahmedabad and Pan India. This is our first event, and it seems right that we started with such a great soul. We have exciting and vibrant events lined up for the whole year, catering to the three: mind, body, and soul. We are planning many knowledge-based member integration workshops from the best brains in the country. Because of the current situation, we are meeting online today, but really looking forward and hoping that we physically meet soon. Our chairperson Nandita Munsha is a multifaceted personality. She has been an active part of Flow Ahmedabad since its inception. After proving her mark as a successful marketing professional in the finance sector, she wanted to do something more fulfilling and give back to the society. That is how boutique matrimony Sadaiv Rishte came into being. Sadaiv Rishte caters globally, and their satisfied and happy clients are spread all around the world. She's an avid traveler, and her blogs on her travels are vivid because she collects moments which are etched in her pictures and words. A people's person and a perfect hostess, she is looking forward to this year with clarity, confidence, and commitment, because that is what turns promises into reality. On this note, I would like to invite our chairperson Nandita Munsha to share about her vision for the year. Over to you, Nandita Ben.
Thank you, Ratna. Members, respected Nithya Shanti ji, past chairs, committee members, my dear friends, and the Flow family across India. I, Nandita Munsha, chairperson Flow Ahmedabad chapter, extend a warm welcome to all of you in our first virtual event. Although we begin our events today, Team Flow has been working relentlessly from the time I took office amidst the pandemic entering its most dangerous phase in India. This human crisis, with severe health and socio-economic consequences, ensured that our COVID task force team under our past chair Sajni Dua worked 24/7, distributing 2,500 masks, plasma donations, securing beds in hospitals for 20 plus patients, and also ensuring oxygen supply for 20 plus patients and launching our flow counseling cell tomorrow. Medicines, injections, and also healthy tiffins have been made available on a simple call. We created possibilities, connected with a strong band of women, and collaborated across multiple channels, thus bringing in focus our vision of create, connect, and collaborate to ensure an inclusive and sustainable society. Our focus in this year is going to be towards textile, environment, sustainability, and skilling in tune with the national objectives. One of the main initiatives for the year is the Textile Conclave, through which we seek to supplement the weavers' income, showcase the rich tapestry of our traditional weaves, and encourage tourism through a roadmap of textile tourism. Our skilling project will create livelihoods in both rural and urban sector. We have teamed up with Dreams Foundation to help in the upliftment of Zarda village by helping women at grassroots levels through skilling initiatives. In our Friends of Environment initiative, we have teamed up with Asta Charitable Trust and Tree Walks. Forests are the lungs of the world, and we will endeavor to create vertical forests through the Miyawaki method. We have identified a plot of land where we will grow fruit trees and medicinal plants. Our plan branches out from the villages to the cities, where we join the Prime Minister's initiative Catch the Rain through rainwater harvesting. This was a mere blueprint of our thoughts for the year, and let us now talk about the event and guest for today. I had attended Nithya Shanti ji's talk when he was invited by the Bangalore FICCI Flow chapter and found him very interesting. He has transformed the story of his life from a corporate person to an inspiration that we know him today. What intrigued me was that he too had redefined the narrative of his life and created a powerful story which augurs well with our tagline, create your story with your aspirations, dreams, and ideas. I firmly believe that empowered women empower women, and we hope to create many success stories this term. I now request the IT team to show the PowerPoint presentation for the year 21-22. Thank you. My team, 2021-22. Senior Vice Chair Rachna Gemawat, Vice Chair Aditi Parekh, Secretary Ratna Jani, Joint Secretary Madhu Bhatia, Treasurer Bindu Thakkar, Joint Treasurer Anju Gatani, Immediate Past Chair Taruna Patel. My mentors, Beena Handa, Vandana Agrawal. Committee, Shilpa Bhagat Patel, Anjana Agarwal, Gitika Saluja, Parav Shah, Aditi Amin, Purva Damani, Dr. Shilpa Parasrampuria, Anu Chopra, Radhika Nanda, Kinnari Madaria Shah, Bansi Sangvi, Neena Gandhi, Pani Trivedi, Yogita Sethi, and Rashmi Ambavi. Over to Dr. Shilpa Parasrampuria for the introduction of our speaker today, Nithya Shanti ji.
Thanks, Nandita ji. We are all looking forward to the pearls of wisdom that are going to drop today. Mystery, mysticism, and mythology are unique to India, which is a dharmshala for the seekers who sometimes come from far off countries to learn the inner science of spirituality. While Hinduism is not a religion, but a way of life, so is India not defined by its physical parameters, but is an experience to cherish and to relish. The bewitching country of ours has given birth to many pious souls who have time and again brought forth the credibility of India's spiritual inheritance. Our speaker for the day, Nithya Shanti ji, an MBA in terms of his academic qualification, combines his experiences of the corporate world to his inner calling. He is an urban monk who has stepped out to share his wisdom in order to enable people to have happier lives. His blending of India's ancient wisdom with contemporary thought process has attracted both the millennials and older generation. In easy language and practical tools, he helps to unleash potent potentialities and happier beings. I now request Nithya Shanti ji to unravel the topic of the day. With clarity comes strength. And I request the participants to keep posing their questions in the chat box. Thank you. Over to Nithya Shanti ji.
Shilpa, thank you for that very warm introduction. Good to be here with all of you. I just realized I am surrounded by 170 women. Wonderful. The only man. I think they got me here because my name sounds like a woman's name. They didn't realize it's a man. And Nandita Munsha, congratulations on your term and your entire team. I'm sure it'll be looking at the presentation. It's going to be a very vibrant year ahead. So good to be here with all of you. My aim is not so much to give you more mental content. I want to create a shift in consciousness. Let's do it together. And let's start by just taking about a minute to be more present with ourselves. So your eyes can be open or closed. And I'm lucky to just be seeing the Himalayas right in front of me. But whether or not you can see the physical Himalayas, we can access that serenity of the Himalayas within us at any time. So just take a moment. Eyes can be open or closed. Just feel how it feels to be you right now. And have a gentle sense of settling. Thoughts are settling. Feelings are settling. Everything is settling. Enjoy each breath. We can all take a deep breath. And slowly open your eyes. Sometimes it's the simplest things, the simplest shifts that go the longest way. For example, a friend once told me that when my kids go to school, I don't say have a nice day. I say, make it a great day. You see, there's a big difference between have a great day or have a nice day and make it a great day. Have a nice day and hopefully everything will go well. Everyone will treat you well, right? And my friend also said to me, when the kids come back from home, instead of asking, what did you learn in school today? Which is a normal question parents ask, what did you learn today? My friend instead, when the kids come home, she asked them, what questions did you ask today? I found that fascinating, right? You see, when you say, what did you learn today? It's like, what did you say there? What did the teacher do basically? What did the teacher talk about? But what questions did you ask today shows how you engage with the learning process. Such a simple shift, but so profound, right? Some of you might have heard this famous book. It came out recently. It's called Mindset by Carol Dweck, very famous book. And she talks about fixed mindset and growth mindset. Growth mindset is about traits. This is the way I am. I'm like this only. Like we say in India, I'm like this only. and growth mindset is no, I can change. I can change. What I focus on expands. If I choose to be more, contributive, I can be. If I choose to be visionary, I can be. If I want to be resourceful, I can be. And what they found was fascinating, that if you praise children for their traits, you say you're very intelligent, you're very strong, even though we have intentions, it actually creates fixed mindset. But if you call someone, if they did something and they did it well, and you said, you're so intelligent, you're so smart, it actually makes them afraid of taking on a difficult task. Because say if I fail in that, then you'll say, oh, actually, you're not that. I was mistaken. You're actually not intelligent. So instead, growth mindset would be when someone does something, you praise their effort. You tried really hard. You gave it your best. So if they fail, it's like, oh, you just have to try a little harder. It's not about who you are. It's about the input you put in. What a simple shift makes such a huge difference. So simple shifts go a very long way. So today's session is about these gentle, simple shifts, which can really stay with us for a very long time. I remember when I was a monk, I met a monk who was always very cheerful. So I asked him, how come you're always so cheerful? He said, I made a decision that I will never complain about my life. But someone somewhere dreams of a life like mine, prays for a life like mine. And I love that. Isn't that true for all of us? That someone somewhere is dreaming of a life like yours, is praying for a life like yours. I'm sure there are many women who want flow, but they couldn't. To be a part of flow, but they can't, right? So in every situation, to see what's there, when I focus on what's there, that does something to my consciousness. When I focus on what's missing, that does something to my consciousness. So today's session is also about a shift in consciousness. I want you 4 phrases. And before I describe them, I want you to check how they land on you and what they mean to you. All right. So they're very simple phrases. And I'll say them twice. So third time, you should remember them. The first phrase, the first of the 4 is wake up, then grow up, wake up, grow up, show up, and clean up. So let me say it again. Wake up, grow up, show up, and clean up. Got the 4? So if you're able to access the chat menu of this call and just address it to everyone, otherwise it goes to a private message sometimes. And then let me ask you, what does wake up mean for you? Just without my describing it, what does it mean to wake up? And just your own definition. Aware, okay, Sangeeta, yeah. What does it mean to wake up? Enlightened awareness, realization, alert, very nice. Rise, doing what we wish, coming back to life, to the surroundings, to the inner you, very nice. Being conscious, being aware, yeah. Get the mind and body moving, that's interesting. Be in the present moment, alert. Leave your laziness behind. Wake up, mindful, introspective. Wake up by being aware of one's purpose in life, possible, yeah. To the reality, get going, mindfulness, fantastic. You've all given similar answers. So that's the first phrase, wake up. And by the way, there's no wrong answer, just a question, right? So I'm happy to, but the second phrase is grow up. Now, what is grow up? And again, in your own words, what does it mean to grow up? Wake up to your Buddhahood is very nice, yeah. Wisdom. Grow up. Up is group up, evolve, develop, yes. Grow up to learning. Learn from your experiences, very nice. Face the reality, develop, be able to change your set patterns, I like that. Grow your intelligence, keep learning, mature, enlightenment, improve upon your mistakes, be equanimous, very nice. Accept the things you cannot change, very nice. Maturity, change yourself, evolve. Yeah, so again, most of you are giving similar answers. It's about evolving, it's about changing your patterns, it's about, using your maturity. Fantastic. So we've talked about wake up, we've talked about grow up. Do you remember the third one? What was it? Show up. What does it mean to show up? Yeah, very good. Show up. What does it mean to show up? Show up is be present, act upon, honesty, express, get involved, be there, act, take responsibility, do your dharma, act on it, be visible. Don't run away from life. Yeah, your reality. Take responsibility, live in the present, be responsible, show up to help someone. Yeah, be there now, be actively involved, match your words to your actions, match your actions to your words. Yeah, perform, be there, face it, be courageous. It's fantastic. Responsibility, honor your word. Yeah, great. So wake up, grow up, show up. And what does it mean? Clean up. Clean up. It's not just about cleaning the kitchen, by the way, although it could be that also. Clean up. Clean up, let go, reboot, change, unclutter, honest. De-learning, that's interesting. Clear your negative thoughts. Forgive and forget. Throw the crap out. Fess up, yeah, that's a good one. Remove excess. Have you heard this phrase? Make amends. It's like also making amends. When you realize you've made a mistake, make amends. Get rid of wrong bias, blank slate. Forgive and move on. Forget the crap. Brilliant. Great. I think you're pretty much on track. That's pretty much what it means. You've kind of got it yourself. To my mind, wake up is to wake up from the hypnotic trance of what you're believing in any moment. Every time I'm believing a thought, I'm actually hypnotized. The simple definition of hypnosis, there's a two-word definition of hypnosis. Suggestion, accepted. So when I come to you and say, you're really disorganized, and if you believe it, you got hypnotized. When I come and tell you, you're really selfish, and you believe it, it really affects you, there's an emotional reaction, then you got hypnotized. If I come and tell you, there's a nice, there's a story from the Zen tradition of this master, the Zen master, who had a special bird, and this bird could smell ego. So whenever a student had advanced very, very much, and people thought that this student really, I think he's woken up, he's awakened. So the teacher had one last test for him. The student had to put the bird to the cage, and he has to put the bird on his head. And the student has to walk across a predetermined path through the whole city and come back. And if the bird does not chirp even once, the bird chirps when it senses ego. Right? If the bird doesn't chirp even once, this is a awake person. That's the final test. So one student is looking very promising. Everyone says, Master, you must give him a try. So sure enough, he's asked to walk on a preset path. The reason it's a preset path is the teacher has set up some obstacles. One person will suddenly start shouting and abusing at this person. Another person will really praise, oh, you're so well dressed, you're so handsome. Then a few women will come and wink at this person. Like all these different obstacles are placed on the path just to see if something shakes him, right? So there's praise, there's blame, there's seduction, there's everything happening. And so this particular student walks all the way through. Not a single time the bird chirps. And he comes back, his teacher's so happy, he has a glow on the face. And the teacher says, you're the most amazing student I've ever had. Chirp, 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 chirp. Last minute, the bird got activated. So this is called, this is the spiritual ego, right? More tenacious than your materialistic ego is your spiritual ego. Spiritual ego is, I'm so kind, I'm so generous, I'm so caring, I'm so loving, right? And we don't like that to be challenged. That's a big threat. If that gets challenged, then who am I? So waking up is waking up from the hypnotic trance of our thoughts. I also call it between stimulus and response is a gap. Between stimulus is what's happening in our life. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. Between stimulus and response is typically thoughts, words, and actions. Between stimulus and response is a gap. And that's where wisdom lives. When the gap is very small, it's not a response, it's a reaction. Like, a friend of mine did this to us once. He told a joke. It was a very funny joke, and we all laughed. Then we were surprised to find he repeated the joke, and we all smiled. And the third time he started, we said, okay, we know the joke. Why are you repeating it again and again? Tell us a new joke. He said, no, the reason I repeated it is this, that when I tell the same joke again and again, you don't laugh again and again. Even though it was a great joke, you did not laugh again and again. First time you laughed, second time you smiled, third time you got irritated. How come if the same joke doesn't make you laugh again and again? How come the same memory from your life makes you cry again and again? I love that. What a powerful teaching. The same joke didn't make me laugh again and again. That same story from 20 years back is making me cry again and again. That's fascinating. I'm getting hypnotized by my thinking. We are always living in the feelings of our thinking. Right now, if we start talking about the plight of people without hospital beds, and maybe some of you have experienced this, where the relatives could not find a hospital bed, couldn't get medicine, couldn't get oxygen. The plight, if you spend the rest of the session talking about that, you will feel a certain way. If we talk about the inspiring things, doctors and nurses, and even ordinary people like courier people, courier boys and security guards and people who come to your home to put that thing into your nose, takes bravery to do that. I mean, I think it's quite brave, right? Going to all kinds of random people's homes to put things into people's noses. I mean, that's quite courageous if you think about it. You know, you might get coronavirus yourself in the process. So if you look at, if we discussed all the courageous things that are happening, that will make you feel a certain way. All the things that flow is doing, that'll make you feel a certain way. So we are living in the feelings of our thinking, and it changes all the time. So here's the fantastic definition of stress, which I learned years back, which I found very, very fascinating and true. Stress is not caused by the events of our life. Stress is not caused by the events of our life. Stress is caused by our thoughts about the events of our life. That's fascinating. Rock climbing is one of the scariest things you'll ever do, or one of the most exciting things you'll ever do, isn't it? Bungee jumping, one of the most scary or the most inspiring things you'll ever do. Public speaking, like what I'm doing now. For some people, this is the most scary thing ever, but I quite enjoy it. Right? The same thing. So if I call somebody else, hey, you give this talk to these very accomplished women, someone's going to get very petrified of that. But for someone like me, actually, I quite enjoy it. Right? So it's not what's happening; it's your thoughts of what's happening. It's very fascinating. So stress is not. So in other words, there is no such thing as, you know, like losing your job. It's not automatically stressful. For someone, it's like, thank you. Now I can focus on my dream. I was caught up in the security. Now that you fired me, now I'll do what I really want to do. In every divorce, there's at least one person who says, thank you. I'm glad I'm out of this, right? In every divorce, isn't that true? So divorce is not automatically stressful. It's your thoughts about the divorce that make it stressful. So to wake up is to realize that we are living in the feelings of our thinking. We are living in the feelings of our thinking. Those of you who meditate or those of you who introspect, you know this. As the mind fluctuates, the feelings also fluctuate. Why does your mood change throughout the day? It changes based on the thoughts you're believing in that moment. There's a lovely, very simple exercise. You can all do this. It's an exercise where it's from a teacher called Abraham Hicks, where they talk about reaching for a better feeling thought. So for example, the thought is, oh, I'm really lazy. I procrastinate too much. So maybe that's a judgment someone has. I'm really lazy. I procrastinate too much. So now what's a better feeling thought? So someone may say, well, there are times when I procrastinate, but there are also some really important things I get done. So then you can say, does that feel better? Does it feel worse? Or does it feel the same? Right? So maybe it feels better, maybe it feels the same. You just write down next to it. It's actually better if you write down the exercise. So you start with the thought that troubles you. Then you try to reach for a better feeling thought. You try another thought. So for example, the thought could be that what I'm calling laziness might just be what I need, just rest. I just need, maybe we are, as a society, we are too hyperactive. And maybe it's just rest. Maybe it's time for rest and rejuvenation. And maybe that's just what I need. Maybe my threshold is different for others, right? And so each time you reach for a better feeling, and then you say, is it the same? Is it better? Is it worse? So writing down each time, and for most people, within 10 minutes, you will have a tremendous shift in your way of thinking. Because each time you're reaching for a better feeling thought, of course, once in a while it'll feel worse or same, but reach for a better feeling thought, a better feeling thought, a better feeling thought. Here's an example of an amazing thought around this procrastination issue. A friend of mine, Clea Chandmal, is a permaculture expert. And she is really an expert on how not only agriculture, but permaculture, permanent agriculture, things that can last for a very, very long time and not require artificial fertilizers and things. She studied this in great depth and detail. And she said, the reason the world is the way it is today is because of the very active people. Those of us who procrastinate are not causing so much trouble. Those of us who are very hyper achievers, we keep buying bigger and bigger houses, more and more cars, setting up more and more industries. Right? What a fascinating perspective that it's the procrastinators of the world because of which the world is the way it is. That's an amazing thought. It's a completely different way of thinking. Right? I used to, a close friend of mine was a soil biologist, and she was talking about how maybe the trees want more carbon dioxide. Maybe the carbon dioxide is not good for us. Maybe the trees want more carbon dioxide. How do we know? Right? How do we know what the earth really wants? How do we know that the earth does not want more plastic? We're only looking at it from our human perspective. But what is the larger picture of this? Right? In the larger span of things, how do we know what's right and what's not? We're looking at it from a very narrow span. So wake up is to be a little skeptical of your own thinking process. There's a beautiful definition of mind, M-I-N-D. Mostly inaccurate neurodrama. Mostly inaccurate neurodrama. You realize that, oh, this thinking process is actually not that reliable. A simple example of this would be the first crush you had, the first person you really liked. You thought, I just want this, I would just get this one person, life will be so amazing. And today, for most of us, aren't we happy that that didn't happen? So grateful. It wasn't that first person that we really liked so much. Because at that age, what we thought was best for us may not be what really is best for us. So like this, we can be skeptical of our own thinking. And so many times we thought, if I just get that one thing, if I just have that one thing, everything will be fine. And maybe you even got it, but then you realize, no, that's not what it is. So for waking up, the point is keep stepping off the train of thought. Keep accessing the gap between stimulus and response. How do you do that? You take a moment, like right now. Come to sensory experience. Notice what you're seeing. Notice what you're feeling. Notice what you're hearing. This is called coming into the vertical dimension. We normally live in the horizontal dimension. Used to be, it is, it will be. But vertical dimension, what's it like to be alive right now? What's it like to be aware? One of the ways I practice coming back to this awakened state is to recognize, just do this with me, keep your eyes open. So for example, I can see something in the room. I can see a window. See a window. There's a mat, a rug over there. I can see a rug. I can see a window. I can see a rug. I can see my hand. I can see my shoulder, perhaps. But I can't see my own face. This is fascinating. I can see the window. I can see the hand. I can see the shoulder. I can point at the window. I can point at the rug. I can point at my hand. When I point here, I don't see a face. Instead, I see a space. This is fascinating. We don't see our own face. We imagine we have a face, but actually there's just a space. So at zero distance, you're not a face. At zero distance, you're a space. You're a space in which everything can arise and pass away. This is the awakened state. Otherwise, you're imagining your face. Like right now, like for example, looking at the screen, many of you have gallery view on, you can see many, many faces. Without memory, there's no way of knowing which is your face, right? You need memory. Oh, that's in the corner. That's memory. But otherwise, you don't know which is your face. Fascinating. In fact, there is no species that can see its own face. At zero distance, we are only a space. So when we say face-to-face encounter, there's no such thing as a face-to-face encounter. It's a face-space encounter. So the awakened paradigm is a little different from our normal paradigm. We normally say, I'm going from Pune to... That's not your experience. In your experience, you're in the car, you're in the train, you're in the plane, wherever. Let's say you're in the car. Are you going from Pune to Bombay? Or is Bombay racing towards you? Right? So we imagine we are an entity in the world, but the awakened perspective makes you realize, no, the world appears to me. I'm not in the world. The world, in a sense, is in me. It's a fundamental change of perspective. How wonderful. So this is the first paradigm, which is the coming to waking up. And we practice waking up by being mindful, like some of you said. How are you mindful? You come to your sensory experience, you come to the inner feelings, and you come to consciousness itself. You can ask yourself the question, am I aware? Just ask yourself right now, am I aware? And something gets activated, something gets enlivened. You become aware of awareness itself. So the best way I know to strengthen this capacity to wake up, there are many ways, but the one that I know and works best for me is meditation. Meditation is an intimate meeting with yourself. Meditation is strengthening metacognition, which means instead of believing your thoughts, you witness your thoughts. Instead of believing your feelings, you witness your feelings. Instead of reacting to your sensations of pleasant and unpleasant, you witness the arising and passing away of pleasant and unpleasant. So you shift from being a person to being a presence. When we meditate, why do we meditate? We meditate to lose the meditator. We don't even realize, no matter how beautiful your identity is, you may be a team member of the flow chapter, you may be a wonderful wife, a wonderful mother, a wonderful neighbor, but every single identity is a bit of a constriction. Like no matter how nice the clothes, it's nice to take it off when you go into the shower. Just take off all the clothes. So every single identity, no matter how beautiful it is, it's a bit of a burden. And so what's it like to hold our identities lightly? So in meditation, we take a break from our identities. We take a holiday from our identity, even for a short while. And we shift from being a person to being a presence. We shift from having a life to being one with life. And this is what awakens intuitive awareness. So, I like to say that life is constantly whispering, our intuition is constantly whispering to us. And we can listen to it or we can ignore it. When we ignore it, then emotions come. And we can listen to it or we can ignore it. So emotions is like a nudge. There's a whisper, there's a nudge, and you ignore the emotions, and then major life events start happening. And that's a slap. So life will first whisper, then it'll nudge, and then it'll slap. So if you're practicing this intuitive awareness, if you're awake, if you're more in awareness, you catch it at the whisper level, you catch it at the conscience level, you catch it at the inner voice level. But you miss it, it starts showing up in emotions. You start feeling, angry, irritated, agitated. You're not sure why you're feeling that, but you're feeling a lot of emotions start coming up. And you ignore that as well. And now life events start happening. You're told to leave the job, a relationship starts breaking down, kids start disrespecting you, maybe even diseases start appearing. So if you want to have a smoother life, a more effortless life, a more free-flowing life, then I invite you to strengthen your capacity to wake up and dehypnotize yourself from MIND, mostly inaccurate neurodrama. One way you can practice this is just sit quiet, just sit. I'm wondering if you can just turn off the unmute function for a little while. That might help us. Yeah, good. Maybe I can do it. All right. So let's just practice right now. Just sit comfortably. Your eyes can be either closed or half closed. I just want you to let the breath come and go. Let the feelings come and go. Let the thoughts come and go. Just be with yourself, an intimate meeting with yourself. Take a nice, slow, deep breath. So whenever I make people do this, some people really enjoy the break. And some people say, oh, Nithya, my mind was wandering a lot. But do you realize that whether or not there were a lot of thoughts, there were many thoughts, a few thoughts, you were aware. You were aware of being. You were aware of having thoughts. Many thoughts, few thoughts. This is metacognition. You're strengthening your capacity to be aware. So there are many misconceptions about meditation. One of them is it's a thoughtless state. Not always true. Meditation is not always a thoughtless state. There are many thoughts coming and going. We are shifting from identifying with thoughts to witnessing the thoughts. It's like saying good weather is when there are no clouds. No, sometimes there are clouds, sometimes there are no clouds. It's shifting from identifying with the clouds to realizing I am the sky, everything else is weather. That's the gift of meditation. It makes you realize you are the sky, everything else is weather. There's a part of you that is untouched by the comings and goings. I am the sky, everything else is weather. So the days you have a lot of thoughts in this practice, I want you to perceive it. A lot of stress is being released. And the days you have less thoughts, I want you to perceive it. Not much stress needs to be released. And just like, when you meet a good friend, you don't say like, if I have to meet Nandita and say, Nandita, let's meet. And they say, yeah, let's meet. And then I say, just make sure you make me peaceful. She's like, what? I'm supposed to make you peaceful? Why do I have to have the pressure of making you peaceful? Why can't we just meet? So when you meet a good friend, you don't have an extra thing, oh, make me cheerful, make me peaceful. You just meet. So when you meet yourself, which is what meditation is, meeting yourself without all these roles and identities and all these different contractions and contracts. In that moment, can you come without an agenda that, oh, this should make me peaceful, this should make me concentrated, this should make me thoughtless. This is an agenda. This is coming in the way of a simple meeting. Some days when I meet Nandita, she's in a very good mood and we have a great meeting. And some days when I meet her, all of you have been troubling her too much. So she's feeling very irritated and agitated. And that's all right. And I can just spend my time. So you see, when you meet a friend, you meet them the way they are, not the way you expect them to be or hope for them to be. So can you meet yourself also like this? Agendalessness. Welcome everything. Welcome everything. Let me show you a few photographs from my time as a monk. I lived as a Buddhist monk for about 6 years. And let's see if you can see this. Can you recognize the handsome monk? I was 23 years old when I left my corporate job and I went to Northeast Thailand. I ordained as a forest meditation monk. I'd been practicing Vipassana meditation before that from the age of 16. And I'd benefit. I'd actually become a teacher for children to teach meditation. And I wanted to deepen that journey. So decided to leave my corporate job. Took a while to convince my parents. But I really was very intent on this. So they let me go. And I went to a forest tradition where we practice, wake up early in the morning. This is about 3 a.m. in the morning. We have chanting for about half an hour. Then we meditate for about 2 hours. The sun rises, we take our bowls and walk to neighboring villages. Everyone walks in silence. Nothing is said. We don't even say thank you, nor do we ring doorbells. We just walk silently. And anyone who wants to offer us food comes out and puts a handful of food in our bowl. We walk bare feet. I was not used to walking bare feet, so it actually took a while for me to get used to that. And so the whole process takes about 90 minutes to 2 hours. We walk back to our monastery, and whatever food we have, we share with each other. We practice eating once a day. So 8:30 in the morning is the only meal of the day. Then we do our various duties in the monastery. We live in individual huts like this, keep them clean. We also have sometimes more remote monasteries with cliffs and caves. So I practiced like this for about 6 years in Thailand and Sri Lanka. And one of the main things we practice is exactly what I taught you. It's shifting from persona to presence, shifting from being caught up in the content of your experience to witnessing your experience. way of saying it's from thinking, to shift from thinking to feeling to being. Thinking to feeling to being. We also train living outdoors in nature like this. My teacher said, everything you need to learn, you learn in nature. So this is an umbrella tent. My brother was visiting me, so we have a few photographs from that time. And I lived like this for about 6 years. And at a certain point, that journey felt complete. And I began to realize that while I love the teachings, I'm not completely in alignment with the way the tradition has shaped up over 2,500 years. And I could also see that there are many, many facets and ways of looking at the truth. And the Buddhist perspective is one very powerful perspective, but it's not the only perspective. So because I wanted to have a more integrative approach to my spiritual journey, I left my monastic life. And since then, for about 2008 onwards, I've been sharing some of the things I've learned in various parts of the world. Right. So happy to take questions toward the end. You can keep your questions that you have around this time of my life. Happy to look that up. So when it comes to wake up, let me ask all of you, again, you can come to the comments. What helps you wake up? And again, by wake up, I mean, step out, or don't believe all your own thinking. By wake up, we mean be aware, come to awareness, come to consciousness. What helps you? If you had one practice in the wake up department, what would it be? That really helps you. Like I said, meditation. For someone, it's taking long walks. For someone, it's journaling. For someone, it's practicing self-inquiry. For someone, it might be prayer. For someone, it's reading a holy book. So what helps you wake up? So go ahead. Why don't you put it in the comments? Gardening, fantastic. Yoga, very nice. What helps you wake up? Chanting, very nice. Accepting what is difficult to accept, right? Talking to myself, that can help. Just don't do it in front of others. They'll think you're crazy. Walking alone, nature, reality check, being super honest with myself, fantastic. Listening to music, helping needy people, listening to bhakti songs, gardening, walking, questioning, journaling, practicing art is fantastic. Yeah. Sitting with myself, very nice. Me time, very nice. Meditation. In fact, there's a nice listening to spiritual leaders, painting, pranayam. First thing I do is thanking Mother Earth, very nice. There are these 5 spaces you should be aware of: workspace, family space, leisure space, holiday space, and there's one more. So what's the first one? Workspace, family space, leisure space, holiday space. And the 5th one, most people don't know what it is. It's my space, your space, right? We completely neglect. So if you think about it, in today's world, most of the time goes in space, remaining time goes in family space, remaining time goes in leisure space, less time goes in holiday space, and almost no time goes in my space. And that can be problematic, isn't it? So because what will happen is, no matter how good your work is, and no matter how good your family time is, and no matter how good your leisure and holiday time is, without my space, it'll start feeling meaningless. So outwardly, you have a fantastic job, inwardly it feels hollow. Outwardly, you have a loving family, inwardly it feels hollow. Outwardly, you have all these fun activities you do, inwardly it feels hollow. Outwardly, you're going to all these fantastic holiday destinations, inwardly you just don't like it. Why? Because you've neglected my space. All these 4 things that I'm talking about are going to strengthen your my space. Waking up, growing up, showing up, and cleaning up. And that's how the topic for today, how we are strengthening our inner clarity, how we are accessing resilience and clarity and strength. Know my space with anguish. Yeah, true. So reflect on waking up and how you can practice waking up, right? Be a lifelong student of waking up. There's not just one way to do it, countless ways to do it. Just like there are many, many, many ways to, when you're very hungry, there are many ways to come out of hunger. In the same way, there are even more ways to come back to yourself. Keep coming back to yourself. Everything is pointing you back to yourself. Everything is teaching us. I want to give you a small taste of how rich this is actually, before we go to the next one. Can you just close your eyes? I'm going to be saying a few simple things, and I want you to feel them as intensely as you can. Knowing the whole time, it's just an imagination, but nevertheless, feel them as intensely as you can. Mountain breeze filtering through a tree. All the leaves of the tree. So imagine that and feel that as intensely as you can. Cool mountain breeze moving through a tree. A fish swimming in the ocean, effortlessly gliding through the water. The feeling of the water moving past the surface of its skin. A camel walking in the desert, and the sand in between its toes. As its foot comes on the ground, its toes spread a little bit, and the sand goes in between the camel's toes. Holding the hand of someone you love, feeling that warmth. The taste of something sour. Music you've never heard before that moves you. And a part of you wants to know the name of the musician and the artist. And then you say, forget it, let's just enjoy this music. What does it feel like? In your garden are 3 plants giving out very distinctive fragrances. And where you sit for your morning cup of tea, all 3 smells come to you at once. What does it feel like early in the morning, sitting with your warm cup of tea and 3 distinct scents? How does it fill you up? And do one more, come up with something on your own. Come up with something that's a multi-sensory experience, that's very rich, evocative, and feel it fully. Do one more. Let's take a deep breath and release. Slowly open your eyes. Beautiful, well done. So as you wake up, you can be much more playful with your life experience. You don't have to wait for events to happen. You can actually play this game because you know it's an imagination. Nothing can trouble you in this world but your imagination. But once you know it's an imagination, it doesn't trouble you anymore. Right? So you can get very playful with this. And right now we played the easy version of this, a lot of pleasant images. But as you go deeper, as you get more confident in this practice, you can go in directions that very few dare to go. You can visualize your own death. You can visualize the death of all your loved ones. Why? Because it's going to happen, right? You can visualize yourself in your old age, in your sickness. You can visualize losing all your money. And that's going to create something. It's going to create some upheaval. All of these things I just said create some kind of upheaval. And you can witness that upheaval. And you can come to a place when you allow yourself to be impacted again and again and again. You start realizing something. I am the sky. All of this is weather. I am untouched by any of this. If you've heard of a great saint called Ramana Maharshi, this is what happened. As a teenager, he visualized himself dying, his body getting stiff, his family discovering it, grieving, taking his body to the cremation ground, cremating his body, coming back home. He said, wait a minute, they did all of that, but I'm still here. Something in me didn't die. And that was the beginning of his realization. And he went from being a school kid to becoming one of the greatest sages of the country. He lived at the foothills of, at first on and then on the foot of Arunachala his whole life. So this is very, very powerful. As you dehypnotize yourself, you start, you stop looking for, not that you stop, you can still look for books, to look to answers to books, but the final authority is this one. No teacher, no religion, no scripture is a greater authority than this one. And by this one, I mean consciousness itself, right? And some very basic paradigms start shifting. Like we talked about the headless way, you can't see your own face, right? So when I'm with you, the only face I can see is your face. So to be honest, when I see your face as my face, that's love. Love is to see, because the only person in front of, like at this moment, there are whatever, 100 of you on my screen, maybe 20 of you, your videos are on. So that's my face. When I see your face as my face, that's love. Right. So like this, your whole understanding starts to shift. When you are with yourself without stories, that's meditation. When you're with the other without stories, that's love. And when you're in life without believing your stories, that's awakening, that's enlightenment. Enlightenment is going through life without believing your narrative, your commentary. There may be commentary, you just don't believe it anymore. That's waking up. And then growing up, emotional maturity. Like a lot of you use the word maturity, right? It's one thing to wake up, but then to also grow up, to take responsibility, and to, in our life, all the ways in which to be, see, it's called, first one's called self-realization. The second one is called self-actualization. What are your talents? What are your gifts? If the first one's about attention, the second one's about intention. There's a lovely phrase, more important than where you're going is where you're coming from. Where you're coming from doesn't relate to your past. Where you're coming from means, where are you coming from in your heart? Are you coming from love or are you coming from ego? More important than where you're going is where you're coming from. It's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it and why you're doing it. That makes all the difference. So if waking up is about coming out of the illusion, coming out of the dream, knowing the dream to be a dream, then growing up is how do you function within the dream? And how effective can we be within the dream, right? How do I deal with people who have different opinions than I do? How do I manage all these roles I have to play? Yeah, they are roles, but I have to play the role. So you may be a mother, you may be an entrepreneur, you may be part of a certain friends group. How can I function very effectively there? So for example, we learned something called the 3 gates of speech. 3 gates of speech is, what I'm about to say, is it true? What I'm about to say, is it kind? What I'm about to say, is it necessary? So if it's not true, the first gate is closed, I can't say it. But if it is true, I check, is it kind? Just because it's kind, just because it's true doesn't mean I should say it. Some people are very proud. Oh, I say it the way it is. But then the upheaval it causes, because when other people say it the way it is, they don't like it. It's not just important to say it the way it is. It's important to say it with kindness. It's about to say, check your intention. Why are you saying it? Not just what you say, it's how you say it. There's one teenager who told me about his parents. He said, I can't hear what they're saying. Why is that? Because who they are is too loud. Fascinating. I can't hear what they're saying because who they are is too loud. What is who they are? They're so pushy. They think they know what's best for me all the time. They never respect me. They never listen to what I have to say. They never take a moment to check where I am because who they are is too loud. You heard that phrase, right? Advice is to add vice. You're adding vice instead of checking where the other person is. Right? So to grow up is to learn how to be human in this world. Human being. So the waking up is the being. And the human is now to be a fully integrated human. So, can I keep my house in order? And can I manage my money well? And can I do work that matches my gladness with the world's hunger? This is all about growing up, right? And we join groups like this to also support us with it. One thing that will happen in a group like this is actually takes courage to be part of a group like this, because in your own right, you may be very accomplished and respected and everything. But when you come to a group like this, suddenly you're just one accomplished person among a lot of accomplished people. So now suddenly it's no longer about just your resume or whose wife you are. And now you're just one amongst many. Now in this moment, how do you show up? And then someone points out to you, you don't listen well. What do you mean don't listen well? I'm such a good listener. How can you say that? And it challenges your sense of self, right? Or you're in a committee and there are differences of opinions, right? Or there's backbiting going on. This is one thing, but I actually invented 2 new words. You've heard the word rumor, so I invented a word called trumor. You heard the word gossip. I invented a word called possit. So what is trumor? Trumor is a rumor based on love and truth. If you have to say something behind someone's back, make sure it's based on truth and it's based on love. Why? Because whatever you say, and especially if you say don't tell anyone, it'll definitely reach them. Because you know what? You tell these 5 people don't tell anyone, then they'll tell the next 5 people don't tell anyone. Because they'll say the whole sentence plus don't tell anyone. And then this will keep on going until that person hears it. And by the time they hear it, a lot of mirch masala has been put on it. So then they're so struck, my goodness, in front of me, you're so kind and nice. Behind my back, this is going on. So one of the fastest ways to spoil the culture of Vicky Flow is to start saying mean things about people behind their back. And then add the statement, don't tell anyone. It'll definitely reach them. More reliable than email, it'll reach them, right? And then the next time they see you, they'll have pain in their eyes. They're like, I'm going to be careful with you. Because in front, you're very nice, but behind the back, this is what goes on. So what's truma? Truma means if you have a problem with someone, talk to them at the right time, at the right place. Yes, it may not be pleasant, but you have to do it. I've learned 5 principles of authentic relating, which in fact, I created a group in Pune. We meet regularly to practice these 5. The 5 principles are welcome everything, assume nothing, reveal your experience. In this present moment, reveal what's alive in you right now. Maybe your heart is beating as you talk about this. So reveal, I'm really scared to talk to you about this, but I need to talk to you about this. Own your experience. Own your experiences, not, you're boring. Own your experiences, I'm bored. It's not you're judgmental. Own your experiences, I feel small. Yeah, you feel small, but that doesn't make, that's own your experience. And the 5th one is honor yourself and honor others. How do you honor yourself? You realize that no one in this universe has had a journey exactly like yours. Even your depression, the word depression is not the same for everybody. When you say depressed and they shake their head, they have no idea what they're talking about. Your depression is totally different. Your sadness, your grief, your loneliness is completely different. There are no 2 same lonelinesses. So honor yourself. How do you honor yourself? Dignity in your own experience. Even in your failings and your challenges and your addictions and your paranoia, there's a dignity there. Own your experience. And honor others is be humble. You don't know, we assume we know what's best for others. What I'm doing right now, my teacher used to say, to teach is a big mistake. And then he said to not teach is also a mistake. I said, what do you mean? He said, when you teach, you make a big assumption. Like, I haven't met almost any of you. What big assumption, how bold of me to talk about these things. I have no clue where you are and what's going on in your life. So to teach is actually a mistake, but to not teach is also a mistake. So you have to make one mistake. So you just take, okay, I'm going to make the mistake of teaching. And then I'll do it with as good an intention as possible. And then you get out of it whatever you got to get out of it, right? So like this, tuning in and checking in every situation, honor self, honor others, assume nothing, welcome everything, own your experience, reveal your experience. So in truthers, if you have a problem with someone, you go to them directly at the right time, at the right place, you sort it out. That's the mature thing to do. Instead of talking behind their back. And if you have to talk about their back, either say something like, or just zip it. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? That's one facet of growing up. It's a very big facet, actually, because a lot of our troubles come just through when we open our mouth, the troubles start. So if you can just learn to be mindful over here, When I was a monk, we had 227 rules. That's the major ones, and there are countless minor ones. And what was fascinating for me was almost all of them could be broken by speech. That's fascinating. So actually, when I think of my monk life, it was training in mindfulness of speech. And how do you practice mindfulness of speech? By being mindful of your thinking. Because thinking, speech is the other side of the coin of thinking. And thinking is hard to catch, but to be mindful of your intentions. Why am I doing what I'm doing? So truma is rumors based on truth and love. And you're asking for the other word, that's posip. Can you guess? I think it's quite easy to guess. Gossip. What is posip? You put in the comments. I'm sure you can guess what posip is. Trumor is a rumor based on truth and love. What's a posip? Yeah, you got it. Positive gossip. Aditi is the first one to get. Positive gossip, yeah. So it's if you have gossip positively. Raise people up. You know, if I come to Nandita and I tell her, let me just take a random person, so Shilpa. So I come to Nandita and I tell her all these horrible things about Shilpa. And Nandita may not say much, but Nandita has now become a little skeptical of me. In front of Shilpa, I'm very nice, but behind her back, I have all these things to say. So now Nandita is extra careful. Tomorrow he may say something about me also. So when we think we are gossiping, we think we're talking about somebody else. We don't realize in that very moment how people think of us is going down. Like, oh, that's how you are. You talk about them behind their back. Tomorrow you talk about me behind my back, right? So behind the back, either zip it or raise people up. If you have a problem with them, go to them at the right time, the right place, sort it out, or make your peace with it. That's just the way it is. This is one facet. There are many facets of growing up. This is one important facet. For me, the three things that came from my practice is deep listening, deep love, and deep silence. Deep listening, deep love, and deep silence. And this is how I practice growing up. Taking responsibility for my own life, taking responsibility for my decisions. There's no such thing as a wrong decision. Make the decision, own the decision, and go ahead. You will learn either way, whatever happens. Even if it's a so-called wrong decision, you'll learn from it. You benefit from that. So now come to your chat box and let's have a quick posip session. I'm sure many of you know each other. Open the, you can actually address it to everyone.
Yeah.
And praise someone in the group, just on the chat, addressing it to everyone. Like, for example, I can see a name like Uma Bajoria. I can see Pinky Godaiwala, Yogita Sethi. So if you know someone in the group, in the chat, praise that person. Publicly praise that person. Take their name and say what you love and appreciate about this person. So I'd like to see the chat light up in less than a minute. Just going to plug my charger in. What do we have? Wow. My granddaughter, 9 years old, is making notes on waking up, sitting far away in a corner. That's so beautiful. Love it. Anu, I like you because you can make me really laugh and I feel so fresh. Amazing. Sajani, spree, positive spirited. Love the calmness of Nadija. Nandita is a great organizer. Love Nandita Ben's zest and spirit for life, though she's been living alone since many years. Alka Kalani and Shweta Bahirani are my two pillars. I'm feeling positive meeting Nandita and Sheila. Nithya Shanti, you're amazing to listen to. How wonderful. Sheel, you're a fascinating person, so quiet and yet so strong. I love you. Nandita is extremely caring. Sajni, you're great at service. Shilpa Bhagat, you're a great host and a great cook. Nandita ji, you're really simple. Nandita Ben, you're so loving. Amazing. Shilpa, you are very caring. Can you see this? Amazing. Have you read this book, The Four Agreements? In fact, there's even a fifth one, The Fifth Agreement. If any of you read that book, let me see if you remember any of the agreements. Let's see how many of them you remember. Put them in the chat. You're not allowed to Google it. It's quite a famous book. I'm sure some of you read the book. Hira, you have an awesome, kind heart. Rachna and Kineri, both of you make me and Bhushan very comfortable with your love and care. Nandita, you have no airs. Sajni, you're a great leader. Nithya, you're amazing. Gratitude always. So nice. All right, let's continue. And let me ask you, in terms of growing up, we have waking up. In terms of growing up, how you can be a more self-actualized person. What would be, if there was one practice you would do, of course, there are many practices, but if there was one central practice that will help you grow up, I can share mine. Like for the first one, for waking up, my main practice is being aware of being aware. That's my main practice. When it comes to growing up, my main practice is to see God in everything, to see God in everyone and in everything. And that's what awakens love. Love is a sense of connection, oneness. So answer now, what will help you grow up? Put it in the chat. What good cause can I do today? Yeah. There's a nice phrase which I use every morning. May I be a channel of blessings for someone today. May I be a channel of blessings for someone today. Very nice phrase. Sincerity, yes. Being human, being a witness in both, all right. Smile to all. Acceptance will help me grow, definitely. What helps you grow up? What helps you be a fully integrated human? All is well. Empathy, yeah, very important. Even authenticity is a really good one for this, for growing up. To be authentic, really show your true self, not just be lost in your masks. To come out of your masks. Yeah. Ever smiling face. Oh, you're talking about the appreciation is still going on. Very nice. I find myself irrelevant and acknowledge that I'm only a means to an end. I would say you're completely irrelevant. At the same time, you're completely relevant. I think both are true. So life is full of these paradoxes. It's nice to embrace both sides. It's like they say, you're so special, just like everyone else. Both are true. Reading makes you grow, definitely, that can help. There are 4 facets of our life. In the growing up department, if you can give attention to all 4, that'll be nice. The 4 facets are physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So every day, can you touch, look at them as 4 rooms of your house. Every day, visit the 4 rooms. At the very least, air out the 4 rooms of your house. What are the 4 rooms of your house? Something physical, something in the emotional dimension, something in the mental dimension, something in the spiritual dimension. So physically, you might do some exercise, you might take a walk, might do some deep breathing. Emotionally, you might have a deep conversation with a friend, you might appreciate someone. Mentally, you might read something inspiring, or you might try to think deeply on a certain topic. And spiritually, you might come to silence, you might meditate, you might have a sense of surrender. Right. So how do we find inner clarity and strength? We wake up, we grow up. Now let's come to show up. How do you show up? I like these 3 phrases. I came up with these 3 phrases years back. Show up, share your gifts, and synergize. Show up means notice. Now, if I'm here, let me be here, all right? There could have been 1,000 speakers over here instead of me, but for some reason, it's me. In fact, I happen to be the first one for this year. How wonderful. For some reason, Nandita has chosen me to be the very first speaker for the whole year. So for some reason, it's me. So I've got to show up. Then I've got to share my gifts. What are my gifts? One of my gifts is to help people tune into themselves, to ask high quality questions, to tell inspiring stories. One of my gifts is to get people out of their heads and into their hearts. So let me share my gift in whatever best way I can. And then synergize. So we synergize with the gifts of everybody. We all have gifts. I'm not the only one. Each one of you has amazing talents and gifts and abilities. What about the creative dimension? Yeah, I would say creative dimension, you can put in the emotional/mental. They kind of fits in both. Mental can be innovative and the emotional can be the joy of that creative expression. Yeah. So show up, share your gifts and synergize. So recently, with all of what's going on in this country, I asked myself, how can I show up? And I said, all right, let me offer a daily practice session. So every night at 10:30 p.m., I open up my Zoom, anybody can join, and we practice for anywhere from half an hour to an hour. I just share something that will help people equilibrate. I don't collect email addresses. There's no advertising for my other programs. It's just a simple, straight, clean practice, 30 minutes to an hour. And that's my way of showing up. In this time, because I can't provide oxygen, I don't know where the hospital beds are. I don't know where the medicine is, but I can share what I share. Each one of us can do our bit. And sometimes people tell me, hey, Nithya, this is a good organization to donate to. Then I'll donate to it. Or I'll tell my friends, hey, why don't you consider donating to this place? That's how we show up. Each one of us can show up. And in our own way, we can show up. There's no right and wrong way of showing up. There's a beautiful story from Buddha's time of there was a big festival coming and people had been invited to light oil lamps. There was a very poor, destitute woman, and she heard about this. She said, I will also light a lamp. But she's so poor, she can barely afford to even eat every day. So over a course of a month, she actually eats less to save money for the oil of one lamp. So when people are offering 10 lamps and 100 lamps and 1,000 lamps, this old woman can only afford one lamp. And the next day when the festival ends, Venerable Sariputra, who's the Buddha's right-hand disciple, he's putting out the lamps. The festival's over, he's putting out the lamps. He puts out lamp after lamp after lamp. This particular lamp doesn't go off. He uses his hand, he blows on it. No matter what he tries, it doesn't go off. And then he reflects deeper. He uses the supernormal powers. This lamp was lit with such devotion. It can't be put off. That woman waited a full month. She ate less to save oil for that one lamp. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Maybe you can't contribute lakhs and lakhs of rupees. Maybe you only contribute 100 rupees, but you do it with such a lot of devotion and faith. That does it, It's not what you do, it's how you do it. I was in Australia and my shoe, one of the threads of the sole came out. And I could see if I keep walking, the whole thing is going to come out. So I asked my aunt, how do I fix this? She smiled at me and said, in Australia, it'll cost you more to fix it than to buy a new shoe. I said, what? It's a perfectly good shoe. One thread has come out. I mean, come on. She said, no, that's the way it is in Australia. It's a use and throw culture. So I came back to India, got my shoe back. I live in Pune. I went to MG Road. I found this mochi cobbler sitting over there. I went up to him with my shoe. I noticed, so first of all, he said, stop. I said, what happened? I'm already serving a customer. Oh yeah, there's a person in front of him. This is a very poor man. He's given his bent beyond recognition chappals to the person. And this man is doing his best to fix his chappals. So while I was waiting, I noticed how clean he keeps his. See, it's not easy as a cobbler with all the dust and grime and polish and everything to keep it clean, but it was perfectly clean. It was blue in color. All his instruments and all his stuff was kept in the right place. And with full attention to detail, he was fixing this person's shoe. And I could see how devoted he was to what he was doing. And the person thanked him. He paid him. He took the money, didn't put it in his pocket. He had a picture of Sai Baba over there. He touched the money to Sai Baba's feet and then he put it away. Then I gave my shoe. He smiled at me. What has to be done? And while talking to me, smilingly, he did his work. And I said, wow, this is showing up. And he's playing his role. He's sitting quietly on the but I consider that man to be more successful than many CEOs I've met. There was no ego there. It was just showing up, doing whatever knowledge he had the knowledge to fix shoes. And you know what? He's playing a role in saving the planet. Because in Australia, I'd have to throw away perfectly good shoes just because one thread came out. But thanks to him, I can reuse that shoe again and again. Maybe I still have it till today. It's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. It's about why you do it. This is called showing up. So wherever we are, and I really believe there are no mistakes in this world. If you're attending today's call, you're meant to attend today's call. And the things that are touching you are meant to touch you. The things you're being reminded of, you're meant to be reminded of that. There's no mistakes. One of my teachers, Byron Katie, she had an awakening, and she'd never heard of any spirituality. She just had a spontaneous awakening. And people began getting attracted to her. They'd come to her house and they would say namaste. She'd never heard the word namaste. She lives in California. She's never heard the word namaste. So to her American brain, it sounded like no mistake. No mistake. Come on in. Namaste. Oh, no mistake. Come on in. She said, like, these people are so wise. Everyone comes and says, no mistake. No mistake. Come on in. She said, why are they even bothering to come to me? They already know it. There's no mistake. That's the essence of it. There's no mistake. No mistake. No mistake. No mistake. So whatever is happening is no mistake. If you're there, then it's no mistake. You have something to give. Don't second guess yourself. Don't assume yourself to be not worthy enough. If you're there, do what you can. Do your best in dharma. Leave the rest to karma. When the wheel will turn its round, true peace will be found. You keep doing your bit. There's a lovely story of a very holy man who all the angels loved. And they were so impressed with this holy man that they wanted to grant him something, grant him a wish. But the thing was, he never prayed for anything. He just lived his life. So after many years of waiting, they appeared to him in a dream and they said, please ask for something. We love you. We love your work. We want to grant you a wish. Ask for something. And in the dream itself, he replied, there's nothing I want. I'm very content. I'm very happy. There's nothing I need. So the angels are very disturbed. They want to do something. They're so impressed with him, but they're not letting him do anything. So they went to God and they said, God, please tell us, this person is very difficult. We like him. We love him. We want to do something, but he doesn't ask for anything. So God gave them a solution. The solution is wherever he goes, wherever his shadow falls behind him, people will get healed. People who are poor will have livelihood, will get food. People who are sick will get healed. Families where there are discord and disturbances, family discord will get settled. Property dispute. Wherever he goes, behind his back, gardens will spread and spring up. Healing will happen, but he'll never get to know. So the angels loved the solution and they granted him this wish, which he'd not even wished for. So he lived his whole life and never once did he come to know the powerful impact that his life had. And that is what it means to show up. You show up so sincerely. You don't have a sense that you're doing anything. And through you, whatever needs to happen, happens. And it happens in a way you cannot even estimate. You don't even know where it ends. I was once doing a session in a company in Bombay, and a person came up to me in the break and said, Nithya, I really have a lot to thank you for. I said, what happened? He said, you'd come to us last year, you'd shared something, and you talked about death. And you talked about how even in death, can we be grateful? Because there are some people who have very difficult deaths, very painful deaths, and very unfortunate deaths. So you gave us an example of how to say how wonderful no matter what happens, how wonderful you're in your car, how wonderful you're enjoying the drive. Even in the traffic jam, how wonderful you have the AC on, how wonderful you can talk to your friends, how wonderful the cell phone's working. Even if you have a small accident, how wonderful only part of the car got damaged, the rest of the car is fine. Even if you had a major accident, how wonderful the car's damaged, but I'm okay. Even if you had a big accident, you hurt yourself, how wonderful I'm still alive. And even if you died, not everybody wants to live to 90 and have a painful illness. Some people want to go quick. How wonderful it was so quick. So he said, I had lost both my parents. In the Uttarakhand, there was this big, in Kedarnath, you remember this big, there were these floods, the flash floods which happened. And a few years back, a lot of people died in that. His parents had gone on pilgrimage. They both died. Now, when he went there, he saw, of course, his parents had died. How difficult it is to go all the way there, collect their bodies. It's madness. But there he saw the local that had it even worse. They had not only lost lives, but they had lost their homes. They'd lost their businesses. They'd lost their children. And he said, it was difficult, but I remembered those teachings to be thankful. I never complain about my life because someone somewhere dreams of a life like mine. Someone somewhere prays for a life like mine. And so he could practice gratitude. I could not believe that I was practicing gratitude in a place where my parents had died, because he realized that, yes, they wanted to, what better, in Indian mythology, we say in any case, what better place to go than on a place of pilgrimage? He decided to focus on the fact that they went at the feet of Shiva, right? And they both went, they were together, they went very quickly, it was not very painful for them. So like this, we show up. Let me ask you now, how would you like to show up? Can you repeat the four? It was actually 3 learnings: deep listening, deep love. That's what I talked about earlier. How would you like to show up? What is the one way you can show up? Why don't we hear about that in the comments? How can you show up? How can you share your gifts? How can you synergize? By smiling. That's a simple one, easy one. Yeah, very nice. There's a nice one. Richard Gere had this very simple way that he would, wherever he would go, he would mentally think, I wish you happiness. I wish you happiness. The intention of I wish you happiness was his way of showing up, by listening, by doing my karma, by being authentic. Very nice. By requesting blessings for all, by spreading flowing waves of kindness, by learning, by being compassionate. Wake up, grow up, show up. And show up also has to do more with, I would say, a little bit more with action. It's not just about mentally thinking it. How can you act? How can you take, like in this time, when people are really struggling, how can you show up? Can you make a donation? Can you talk about an organization that's doing good work? Can you help organize resources for someone who's really struggling? Maybe in one family, everyone's sick. Can you organize food for them? Right? There are all these ways that you can show up. Meet and talk, be helpful wherever I can. Sharing your gifts is a powerful way of showing up. Positive talks with someone who is dressed very nice. You know, sometimes positive talks are great. Sometimes just holding the space for them. Sometimes it gets very pressuring for them. You talk positive, they're like, oh, I've got to now get to be positive. Sometimes just holding the space for someone who's depressed is very, very meaningful. By reassuring them that all is well. Very nice. Let's come to the last part of today's session. I want to also keep some time for Q&A. Clean up for me is, there is residue from interactions, right? For example, people praised you a lot. There's some residue of that praise. People criticized you a lot. There's a residue of that. Memories of what happened earlier in your life. There's a residue of that. Traumas. That's a big residue. The strong conditioning of how you're supposed to be as a woman. There's a residue of that. All these conditioning, there's a residue of all of that. And it is a lifelong journey to clean up. Keep cleaning up. Just like, I don't have to tell you, cleaning the home, lifelong journey. Keep on cleaning, keep on cleaning. One lady had come to our monastery and she saw a hut and she said, wow, how long does it take you to clean it? I said, at the most 15 minutes. She said, I'm so jealous. I live in a big house, the whole day goes. I was visiting Thailand and I was staying at a friend's house and she has a beautiful big apartment. And I said, I was complimenting, what a beautiful home you have. She said, yeah, but the maids don't clean it nicely. So I was focusing on the beauty of her home and she was focusing on the things in the wrong place and the dust, the this and that. What you focus on expands, right? See, are you living in a home or are you living in a hotel? You have to ask yourself. A house is built of bricks and stone. A home is made of love alone. Sometimes it's okay to have a slight dirty room and have love and laughter in the house, right? If there's too much of tension, I saw this cartoon. This husband goes to the kitchen and he breaks a cup. By accident, he breaks a cup. And the wife is just there. She notices it. And she says, very calm voice, she says, yeah, break the cup. Break all the cups. Break every cup. Break everything in the house. Break the whole house. Break everything. You keep on breaking stuff. So next day, she goes to the kitchen and accidentally she breaks a cup. And her first thought is, who kept this cup there? So when we do it, it's all fine. When somebody else does it, then it's like horrible, careless people. So, so to clean up is to realize that hurt people hurt people. The people who've hurt you in your life, they are also hurt. I'm not condoning what they did, but they were also hurt. So your job is to break the chain. If you also now get hurt and you keep on going, this is not the way, this is not the wise way to go through life. So whatever happened in your childhood, now it's your duty to clean that up. You know, our parents are doing the best they can. If they knew better, they would do better. Our teachers are doing the best they can. If they knew better, they would do better. That is all designed, that is all precisely designed for our awakening. Nothing's out of place. No mistakes, right? In my deepest meditations, I realized this is me playing a game with myself. This is me creating a puzzle for myself. Can I break out of this puzzle? This is God playing hide and seek with herself. It's a very strange thing. Why would we do this to ourselves? But this is the sense of humor of God. So this is a puzzle we have to break out of ourselves. So we ourselves have come into the illusion, into the conditioning, and now we ourselves have to now challenge all these illusions and come out of it. So let me give you a simple method. There are many methods, but one simple method that you can all apply. It's called the healing walk. In the healing walk, whatever time you walk, you cut it into 4 parts. Let's say you walk for an hour. So you divide it into 4 parts. First part is the problem. So any problem, could be a problem at home, could be a problem at work, could be a problem with your health, any problem. You choose one such problem and you have a nimitta for it. Nimitta means some kind of sign. So maybe you have a problem with somebody at work. So the nimitta could just be what their office looks like or what their face looks like, doesn't matter. You have some kind of a sign that correlates to that problem. Now you start walking and you keep walking and your mind will wander, but you keep coming back to that nimitta. You keep coming back to that sign again and again. And as you come back to that sign, unpleasant feelings will arise. Fully feeling what you're feeling is healing. Don't try to dodge your unpleasant feeling. The way out is through, right? The obstacle is the way. So feel the feelings. As you're walking, feel that unpleasantness in your system. Feel that heart feeling heavy, that gut feeling heavy. And your mind will wander, come back to the nimitta again and again. Come back to that. What you don't like, don't want. Keep coming back to that for the first 15 minutes or 1/4 of your walk. Then flip. Then switch from problems to possibilities. This is what I don't want. This is the past. This is how I'm a victim. But now let's shift to possibilities. What I don't want is what I don't want. But what do I really want? What's the BPO? BPO is best possible outcome. What's the best possible outcome in this situation? So now for the next 15 minutes, I will bring in images, thoughts, and feelings of the BPO, the best possible outcome in this situation, in this health situation, in this financial situation, in this occupation situation. What's the best thing that can happen over here? Keep on walking and allow those images, those feelings to now flow. And after 15 minutes, again, switch. And of course, your mind will wander, you bring it back. Don't worry about the mind wandering. Mind wanders, bring it back. Mind wanders, bring it back. Now you shift to how does it feel? What's the feeling of having it now, like it's already so? Wouldn't it feel so amazing? Would it feel so expanded, so freeing? Wouldn't it fill your heart with a sense of expansion and love? Won't you feel a sense of relief? So feel that relief, feel that joy, breathe deeply, smile. The third part of your walk, feel the joy like it's already happened. In the last 15 minutes, just be. So seeing what you're seeing, hearing what you're hearing, smelling what you're smelling, just be in the present moment. What have you done? From tamasic to rajasic, from rajasic to sattvic, from sattvic to nirgun. You have cleaned up. You've begun with something very tangible that's bugging you in your life. That's tamasic, makes you heavy, dull, inert, victimized. You've come to rajasic. Rajasic is the ambition, the possibility, what you're aiming for, what you're pining for, what you're hoping for, what you're longing for. That's what you're hoping and wanting, but you're not sure it can happen. But nevertheless, that's what you'd like to happen. That's rajasic. Sattvic is feeling the joy like it's already so. This is also called the science of miracles. What you want at the end of it, have it now. If you want a shortcut to spirituality, whatever you're hoping happens at the end of all your sadhana and chanting and meditation and pilgrimage, whatever you're hoping happens at the end, practice that now. So if at the end of your Gita class, you want to be closer to Krishna, then feel closer to Krishna now. Right? Whatever you're hoping at the end, practice it now. My teacher, in fact, Nisargadatta Maharaj said, most people, when they read the Gita, they assume that they are Krishna. The next time you read the Gita, if you have to assume you're not okay. First, most people read it assuming they're Arjun. Sorry, not Krishna. Most people read the Gita assuming they're Arjun. So this time, read the Gita assuming you're Krishna. See what happens. Something completely shifts. Your core identity shifts. So begin with end in mind. So this is one example of a healing walk, of a clearing up practice. Take a healing walk. Problems to possibilities, possibilities to joy, joy to presence. And you'll be amazed, the same thing doesn't bug you anymore so much. Then there are other practices you can learn a practice. In fact, I've given a talk on YouTube, which I'm happy to share with Nandita later on, of three ways to clean up, 3 ways for emotional alchemy. One of my favorite methods is tapping. You just tap these acupressure points. Just learn the acupressure points. Take 2 fingers. Tap the beginning of your eyebrow gently. Take a breath. Come to the side of your eye. Take a breath. Come below your eyes. Take a breath. Below the nose and below the lip. Take a breath. Collarbone. 4 finger breaths below the armpit on one side, or if you can, both sides. Middle of the chest, take a breath. Top of the head, take a breath. So this beautiful practice is called tapping, also called EFT, emotional freedom techniques. It's a very powerful way to integrate. It's a very powerful way to clean up. Whatever's coming up, grief is coming up, fear is coming up, sadness is coming up, phobias are coming up, addictions are coming up. Just tap, just tap. Go to YouTube, you'll find lots of videos. I'll also share with Nandita one of my explanations of this. And there are many other ways. I like this teaching called Ho'oponopono. Some of you might have heard of it. It's a Hawaiian teaching. No matter what happens, you say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you. I'm sorry, please forgive me is forgiveness. I love you is love, and thank you is gratitude. So in any situation of your life, this teaching says, if you inject forgiveness and love and gratitude, there'll be profound healing. So no matter what happens, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you, thank you. You're not saying sorry to the person, you're saying sorry to the inner reactivity that's happening. I'm sorry, I'm believing these thoughts. I'm sorry. So the idea of Ho'oponopono is full responsibility. Break up the word responsibility, ability to respond. No matter what happened, I'm not a victim. I have an ability to respond. One of the best examples of this, just before I became a monk, I read this book about a Tibetan nun. I forget if she escaped or she was released. But after more than 30 years in a Chinese prison, she came to India. She went to meet the Dalai Lama. And as he met her, he asked her, 30 years, your entire youth has gone in a prison. What was the biggest challenge you faced? So this is a woman who was caught as a young nun and spent more than 30 years in a Chinese prison. You can't even imagine the unspeakable thing that happened. And she said, yes, I did face some challenges. There were a few times where I almost lost compassion for my captors. I was blown away by that. Even Dalai Lama was blown away by that. Wow. She's not talking about the torture and the unfairness of it and the fact that she's just kept there with no knowledge she'll ever be released. She's not being a victim. So what are the greatest challenges she faced? There were a few times I almost lost compassion for my captors. So that is the biggest danger. For her, the biggest danger was her own inner reactivity, not what was happening to her. Even in that prison, she was empowered. So as we clean up, we start getting in touch with these deeper reserves and resources of resilience and empowerment and clarity and strength. It's all there, you see. I really believe everyone has equal wisdom. We are at one level, we are already fully self-realized. We just have to remember it. And we do that by, in fact, the true meaning of education is to uncover. So now why don't you put in the chat, what is your favorite way of cleaning up? It could be reflection, it could be journaling, it could be being vulnerable with a friend. It could be what I've talked about. It could be something else. Why don't you share how would you like to clean up? And with that, we'll take some questions after that. Theta healing meditation practice, gratitude, forgiving oneself and others. Silence, very nice. Meditation. Sitting in stillness, very powerful. Journaling. Let's have a few more. How do you wake up? How do you grow up? How do you show up? And how do you clean up? By asking my tarot deck, my question, getting answers. Fantastic. Yeah. No baggages. Talking it out can be helpful. Yeah. Acceptance of situation as it is. Introspection. Being in the moment. Take a deep breath and step back for a little while. Great. So we have a slide right towards the end. Yeah. So if you want to be in touch, these are different ways to be in touch. And that's my link tree, where you find links to my different offerings and courses and talks and lots of free meditation and talks online. There's my YouTube channel. We're doing a daily practice every night at 10:30 p.m. You can join if you like, India time. There's a link for that on the link tree. And also my Telegram group, where I share inspiring things pretty much every day, stories, resources, and events. So these are two different ways to be in touch. Let's have some questions.
Thank you for a lovely session. I must say, I am glad that Buddha woke up centuries ago for you to show up today and heal such deep wounds. So I invite Nandita ji to ask the first question and set the ball rolling. We invite Malvika ji and Usha ji also to ask their questions.
It was really nice, wonderful session, Nithya Shanti ji. It was really enchanting and too much learning today. One question that I would like to ask is, stay positive is desired 24/7. How do I keep switching to this state?
So, like I said, there are actually four levels of consciousness. Victim. I'll say it slightly differently this time. So there's victim, there's empowered, there's surrendered, and there's awakened. So victim is what you call be negative, talk about all that's wrong with everybody. That's victim. Empowered is to be positive. But there are stages beyond positive, because sometimes, like I've realized in my life, sometimes even being positive is like sugarcoating things. Sometimes you have to really deal with the situation. You can't just keep being positive. Sometimes you have to get real, what's really going on. And sometimes I've noticed my positivity also can be create a distortion. So I find that even beyond being positive is being surrendered. Being surrendered means trusting a larger flow of life and being inquisitive about what's the deeper thing going on over here, questioning my assumptions. And even beyond that is to be awake, to be awakened. So definitely be positive, but don't stop there. Don't just think positive. Feel that positive energy. That's sattvic. Don't just feel the positive energy. Be present. Come from personality to presence. Come from doership to witnessing to being. And that is to be awakened. That is the headless way. That is to be a space in the world, to be a space for the world instead of a face in the world. I think it's a great first step to be positive and then keep going. Feel it, be it, and then live it.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.
I think Rupa Patel wants to ask, in a situation, what works best? Use your head or your heart?
I would say it's three things. Use your head and your heart and your gut. The head represents intellect, the gut represents instinct, and the heart represents intuition. And what they found was each has a very unique intelligence. If you only use your heart, you can get sentimental. If you only use your head, you can get dry and intellectual. If you only use your gut, you can be reactive. But we want a combination of all three. So a simple way of doing that is when you make a decision, literally touch your belly, take a breath, touch your heart, take a breath, and touch both hemispheres of your brain and take a breath, or take more than one breath if you like. And what you'll find is you're integrating, you're honoring the intelligence of your gut, you're honoring the intelligence, the intuition of your heart, and you're honoring your intellect as well. So I would say combine all three. It's not either or, it's and.
So Fani Trivedi wants to ask, can you explain your Twitter intro? I sense the universe wants to remember itself through this me. I think your Twitter intro, she wants a little explanation.
Okay. Well, it's good. I mean, how interesting you found that question. You found that. So let me see how to say this. As you meet yourself again and again and again, you start meeting yourself beyond your roles and labels and identities. You start touching parts of yourself which are not really personal. They're like, it's just a process. Breathing is a process. Digestion is a process. You start realizing even thinking is a process. It's all a process. It's all part of a larger process. You might have noticed that your lungs are like inverted trees. You might have noticed that walnuts have the shape of a brain. It's not a coincidence. These are not coincidences. We are thoroughly a part of. I saw a picture yesterday. The fingerprint, the rings of my finger. I don't know if you can see it. They're actually not that different from the rings of a tree. When you cut a tree, the rings of a tree. So we're all interconnected in far more amazing ways than we ever realize. So Rumi says, "Why are you so sad? You are the universe in ecstatic flow." You know, each one of us, we are much more than we imagine we are. Right now, we are a lot of very troubled because a lot of people are dying. And the reason we are troubled is we have a very strong human-centric view. But if for a moment you were to shift your consciousness from imagining you're a human to realizing you're the planet, you might not feel as bad anymore. To imagining you're the solar system, you might feel very different. If you start operating at the time scale of a galaxy, what's happening now is almost irrelevant. At the time scale of a universe, it's almost irrelevant. So like this, when you start playing with your perception, you start playing with your identity, how things affect you. Like notice how strongly we are affected by what's happening in India. Why? Because we are in India. When this happened in Iran, we were not that affected. When this happened in the US, we were not that affected. But because we are here, or our relatives are here, our loved ones, wherever they are, if your loved ones in the US or in New York, when the New York outbreak was happening, you were being very affected. So we are affected based on our identity and our who we think we are. So when you start challenging that, it's not that we ignore what's happening, but you're not as reactive to what's happening. You're not as sentimentally caught up in what's happening. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that is one way in which I recognize that I'm more than what I think I am. Neti, neti. In India, we have two things: neti, neti, and iti, iti. Neti, neti is you challenge all these notions. Whatever, I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm a friend, I'm a this. And is it really true? In some ways I am, but that's not all of who I am. So everything you think you are, neti, neti, not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. And you come to a point where you say, I'm undefinable. And in the moment you realize you're undefinable, in that moment, you have touched a common thread that connects everything in the universe. So in that moment of realizing you're a zero, the zero goes through a twist and you realize you're infinity. So neti, neti leads to iti, iti. Then when you're with someone, you realize, oh my goodness, I'm with myself. That's my face. You meet a group, oh, that's all me. You meet anybody you meet, anything you do, that's me, that's me, that's me. You're always meeting yourself. No one has to teach you morality now. It's like why would my right hand harm my left hand? It's part of the same body. It's understood it's part of the same body. So the more you realize your oneness with everyone and everything, no one has to teach you morality anymore. Complicated rules aren't required. It's very obvious. So that's what I mean by that.
I think that was very deep. And Flo Ahmedabad sends its regards to Namita ji. And Uma wants to ask you, how can we help someone who's afraid of this present situation?
Yes. So we help them by recognizing that our body-mind mechanism is perfectly capable of taking the full spectrum of emotions. You're capable of taking in fear, you're capable of taking in greed, you're capable of handling jealousy, you're even capable of handling a panic attack. You're capable of it. Your body mind can handle all of it. So the paradoxical thing is, you help someone who's fearful by not trying to get them out of fear, by actually holding the space for them, by looking past the emotion that's happening into the fact that they are the way they are. I'll give you an example. There was a man, he came out of the railway, it's a true story, comes out of the subway station, and a boy comes up to him and holds up a knife and says, "Give me all your money." So the man reaches in his pocket, takes out his wallet and gives it to the boy. And as the boy is running away with the wallet, the man says, "Hey kid, it's a little cold. Do you want my jacket as well?" The boy is shocked. What? I stole from, he wants to give me his jacket? So he comes back and his energy is completely changed. And the man gives his jacket. And he said, "I was about to get a burger. You want to join me?" This kid's like, "What's going on? I'm robbing this person. He wants to offer me a burger." He's a little skeptical, but he goes along with him. And they have a profound conversation as they eat the burger. And the man says, "I'd love to treat you, but you've got my wallet." The kid returns the wallet. And the man says, "Can I ask for one more thing? Can I have your knife as well?" You see, he didn't try to correct him. He connected with him. Don't try to correct people. Don't try to change people. Just connect. Meet them where they are. Connection before correction. Connection before correction. If you want the short summary of how to get along with people in this world, how to influence people in this world, connect before you try to correct. So if they're afraid, it's okay. Take out the word fear. What's happening? Heart is beating. Stomach is tight. Breath is fast. All right. I'm here with you. I'm breathing with you. I'm holding the space for you. So the thing is, you can only help people who are afraid to the extent you work with your own fear, right? If it's transferred that you also get afraid with them, then not both of you are now afraid. So this is why we do the whole practice, right? We do the waking up practice, we do the growing up practice, we do the showing up practice, the cleaning up practice. To the extent you've done your homework, when that happens, you can actually hold the space for them. And very naturally, it'll happen. There are three beautiful principles from the Zen tradition: not knowing, bearing witness, loving actions. Not knowing means don't assume for a second you know what's right for this person. One of the best examples of this, I talked about Byron Katie a while back. One of her nephews called her up. He was very depressed. He called her up and he said, "Now imagine getting a phone call like this. I'm holding a gun to my head. I don't see any reason why I should live. Tell me why I shouldn't pull the trigger." Imagine that's like the most frightening call. So she gets a call from her nephew saying, "Tell me why I shouldn't pull the trigger." And Byron Katie is someone who's questioned her thinking for a very long time. And she says one of the things that almost anybody would be afraid to say. She says, "I can't think of any." And he breaks down into tears. He said, "That's the most honest thing I've ever heard." He puts the gun away. So not knowing, how can you assume life is better than death? It's a very big assumption. So you start challenging all these assumptions, all these notions that we have, not knowing, bearing witness. You feel the pain of the other person. You feel with them. We have mirror neurons. We feel what other people are feeling. It happens to us. When you see someone crying, you also feel emotional. You see someone laughing, you also feel like smiling. We have mirror neurons. So feel with them. And then loving actions. So when someone's afraid, not knowing, don't be so sure that fear is bad for them. That may be exactly what their psyche needs right now. You know, in today's world, what our modern psychiatry and psychology calls schizophrenia and hypochondria and mental disorder, in ancient societies, these were sometimes seen as a sign of your psyche waking up. So such children or such people were given special training, and they came back to be the medicine men and the shamans of that society. So what we call mental illness, from another perspective, is actually spiritual growth, spiritual awakening. Meher Baba, the people who wander on the streets, who don't even know whether they're wearing clothes or not, who just walking naked on the street, their head are matted. Meher Baba called them mast. He said, these are awakened beings. And he'd wash their feet and cut their hair and make sure that they were okay. So what you and I call mental illness, from another perspective, is not mental illness. It's only our limited paradigm. So like this, not knowing, bearing witness, and loving actions. The loving actions would emerge from the first two. If you try too quickly to be loving, it actually backfires. That's what I'd say about that.
Shilpa, unmute.
Enough gyan for today?
Shilpa,
You are unmute.
You're muted, Shilpa.
Okay,
Looks-
I was saying even Einstein was thought to be low in intellect by his teacher. So if
True.
anybody would like to ask question like Namita ji, Malvika Rai, Usha Agarwal ji, Renuka ji, Ava Jhamania, if any of you would like to ask questions, please do so. Otherwise, we go to our token of appreciation. So then we move to our token of appreciation and lovely words. And I think we all feel very, very at peace today. Can we have the token
Very
of appreciation from the IT team, please?
Thank you so much, Nithya Shanti ji, for this enlightening session. Thank you, Shilpa. This token of appreciation has been put together keeping in mind our year-long Flow Ahmedabad chapter initiative, which is the Friends of Environment. It includes seed balls, which are such an easy and sustainable way to cultivate plants and which also can be used for one's garden. And the memento next to it depicts a blooming city of Ahmedabad. Nithya Shanti ji, this token will reach you by courier at your address very soon. Thank you so much once again. May I now?
Thank you.
Yes, pleasure.
I thought I was getting laddus though. I didn't realize it's seed ball. Okay.
We'll send that to
No, it's all right.
Brilliant session. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Great start to my tenure. I'm really very happy and grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nandita. Thank you so much. Lovely.
We are now request our Senior Vice Chair, Ms. Rachna Gemawat, for her vote of thanks, please. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Nithya Shanti ji. I just read once the book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And he has said in that, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. And when we choose our response, there lies our growth and freedom. And today I can vouch that after listening to your session today, we rightfully understood the meaning of it. Reading is different and listening is different. So today we go back with a growth mindset, shifting our focus to wake up, grow up, show up, and clean up. So on behalf of the entire Flow Ahmedabad chapter, I would like to thank Nithya Shanti ji for conducting such a wonderful session. I would also like to thank our sponsors, our event sponsor, Sadev Rishte, a boutique matrimonial, our PR partners, TVM Communications, our creative partners, Brand Affair. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all our members, Flow, YFlow, and Pan India members who were part of this webinar. I would also request our members to please save the date, 15th of May, for our next event, which is Meet the Woman on Dalal Street. Till then, thank you, stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye. Why don't you unmute and say bye-bye so we have a little noise.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
It was wonderful listening to
Thank you.
you.
It's a fantastic session.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Bhakti.
Thank you, Nandita.
Thank you so much. It's very.
Thank you.
And do send us the link, please. Do send us the link that you were mentioning.
I'll send you the links. I'll send Nandita both the links. She can share with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
very
you
much.
so
We
much.
enjoyed.
All right, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So nice.
Congratulations, Nandita. Wonderful session.
Thank
So
you.
nice.
Thank you, Nithya ji, for clearing up my thoughts, my
Oh, I'm glad.
concern. I'm really happy to
So
know.
nice, Uma. Thanks.
I was really that showing much being possessive about the person who I'm talking about. So that really cleared my mind and thoughts.
Great.
And
Great.
that
I'm
was
so happy to hear that.
definitely going to help
Yeah.
me out.
Good. Great.
Thank you.
Great. I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
I'm glad. I planted some seed bombs of inspiration. So they bloom when they have to.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Nandita.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Lovely session.
Lovely session you have organized.
Welcome.
And thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. And look forward, even if you're for the 15th May, there is a session on Meet the Women on Dalal Street. We would like you to join in that.
We will definitely. I'll attend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Nandita,
Bye, Nandita.
It was
Chalo, the Taruna with Madhu Barabar.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm
very
glad everybody enjoyed bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent start.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Binavan, Binavan. Cannot hear you.
Yeah, very good beginning and a lovely session.
Thank you very much.
Lots to think about. Okay.
Yeah.
All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent session, Nandita.
Thank
Great start. Hip hip hooray.
Rachna. Thank you.
It was lovely.
Next, yeah, thank you very much.
And it was a very enlightening one also. It was superb.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
everybody
so clear.
He's
So it was
clear
gripping,
about it.
actually. It was gripping.
Yeah, it was gripping.
Yeah.
He's a nice,
Yes.
very good speaker. Very good speaker.
Very good orator.
Yeah.
Very.
He made it little interactive. It was very good.
Yes.
Yes, that was nice.
hi Nandita, very nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, one favor, મને એમનું telegram નો number જોઈએ.
Yeah. I'll send you. He had given the link, his linked up.